Hello and welcome back to Woodhill Park. Just for this quick recap of my last project really, and I'd like to thank a guy called Steve Ellington, I think his name is. I'm just going to have a check. Oh, Ellington. I've got that wrong as well. Anyway, this guy said that he worked in the industry where they used conveyor belts, and he was pretty sure that I had my conveyor belt upside down. Now, I didn't really think I did, but because the one I put on the Aggregate factory actually sat better a certain way up, even though I did scratch my head at the time because I thought the corrugated metal was like a weather shield, but it seemed to actually sit better on the factory a certain way up, and so I went along with it, not really knowing or really even noticing something in real life that looks like it, and it was upside down. But he actually brought it to my attention, and I looked closely at it and studied things a bit closer, like I should have really, and then I found he's bang on. He said the corrugated metal was on the top to protect the weather from getting at the conveyor belt, you know, the rain and stuff, and it should have been up the other way. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought I've been really silly here and I've got it upside down. So credit to him for pointing it out, and it's amazing that nobody else noticed it. I feel a right fool now, but I have put it right, and I'll show you actually what I've done, and I'll show you the factory, or my Aggregate factory as well, with the first conveyor belt on it, and I'll try and explain why I thought it was up a certain way. Anyway, I'll go over to that side of the layout and point out the conveyor belt. Now over here it just seemed to sit right this way up. You know, it just wouldn't sit correctly the other way up in my mind, and I thought this opening here was to take the hopper in place like that, and it seemed to go into the building okay at this end, and I could see the belt here, and I thought, well, maybe there is a bit of an exposed belt there, I don't know, and I didn't really question it, and it just sat there and nobody else mentioned it either. But if I turn it round, it does actually start to look right. It's actually, oops, yeah, it doesn't sit that wonderfully well. I suppose I need to prop it up better there. If I pick the hopper up, which I've just dropped, and put the hopper in place, you can now see the exposed belt here, and it's become obvious that this part of the belt is flat on the base, or on the concrete in this case, and then the hopper goes over the top to feed that belt. I'm going to have to adjust this because it now won't sit correctly, and that's probably what led me to believe it wasn't right. So it's still up in the air. I'm going to have to alter it. I might have to put something underneath this to prop it up, just to get it the right height. Anyway, that's the previous factory I worked on, the Aggregate factory, and I'll go over to my coal mine now and I'll show you how I put that right. Now at the coal mine I had it somewhat like this, sort of extensions holding up the conveyor belt, and it was crushed in here, and it seemed, you know, the logical way to have it up, as it seemed to sit better. But after Steve's comment, I had to cut it free actually, because I'd glued it down the bottom because it wouldn't stay upright, and I suppose that was a clue, because it did actually stay upright when I turned it over for some strange reason in this scene, even though it didn't in the other factory. I think it's probably just to the right height for the coal dropper over here. So I had to cut these free after super gluing them, and luckily I didn't do any damage. And it's not a case of just turning it up that way. I had to turn it 180 degrees, and what I've done is over here I've put a piece or a strut to hold it up, and if I put that directly on top of that piece of plastic, it sits rather nicely, nice and snug like that. And if I come down this end, it's actually pretty flush on the coal yard. So when I put the hopper on now, and not only is the hopper over it in a better place now, I might have to sort of make a bit of a dent in the coal yard to make sure the hopper's quite level, but I can move the hopper probably over here a bit more or centralise it, and I've now got quite a gap between the fence and the hopper, which I didn't have, so I've actually gained more room, and the hopper is upright now, and it's a question of putting this support underneath, and it's just for show really. It's to really show you that it probably couldn't support its own weight, and I probably should do something like this at the Aggregate factory. Right, I'm just going to have to put the camera down and fit this together properly, and I'll be back in a sec. I'm back again. It was just very hard to fiddle around with it with one hand and try and put it in place, but the other good thing is I no longer have to glue it in place because it just sits nicely, which means should I knock it with my arm or something if I'm reaching over, hopefully it will just fall over rather than break. There's things like my pylon behind, I never glued them down because I know if I catch them with my arm they'll just break in half, so they're completely free to be knocked over, so there's no way I'm going to damage it really, other than the fact that it falls over, because if I glued it rigid I'm bound to snap it in half. And I was trying to use the same philosophy for stuff here really, but I actually succumbed to gluing this because it wouldn't sit flat. So now I'm really happy because it's all loose. Hopefully it don't fall over by its own accord, but it means if I knock it I'm not going to break anything now, and just can put it back in place. So I'm really happy, and well, it's just one of those things. I feel complete numpty for putting it upside down, but it's just a learning curve again, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's something I've overlooked, and I'm glad that Steve pointed this out. And yeah, much obliged, and thanks to all of you for watching my update. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. I had a lot of feedback saying how much you enjoyed the build from start to finish, and as I said in my previous update, I'll be back again when I get around to probably doing something else, or I might be putting detailing inside the building and lighting up the yard. So thanks again, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers, bye for now.